Peace, this is Cool Doug Love. I'm here once again with my Digitakt. In my last video, I showed you how to use an LFO to time stretch and chop a sample. Today, I want to just focus on the sample chopping because I think that this can work like a janky auto slice and I'm kind of into it. So check this out. I've got this drum break and what I want to do is chop it up. By the way, all the drums in this video are from J Zone's Breakbeat Bonanza, and I'll link his Bandcamp in the description. Anyway, I want to chop up this first bar here. So what I could do is just parameter lock the start points in my sequence, but I'm going to do it a different way. I'll explain how this works, but first I want to show you. So what I'm going to do is set the start point of my sample to the midpoint of the section that I want to chop up. Next, I'll set up my LFO. I want a saw wave. I want to set the destination to sample start and the mode to trigger. And next, I'm going to turn the depth to the left until it triggers the beginning of the part that I want. Now what I can do is change the phase of my LFO to call up different parts of the sample that I want. So the beginning, the kick is just at 0. So I'm going to put that there. Next, I'm going to get this snare on 32. The midpoint is at 64. There's another snare on 96. But I'm just going to use this one. I'm going to get this bit right here from 16 and paste it over here. There should be a little snare right after this kick, which is more like 9. I'm going to paste that over here. I'm going to paste that here. So now I've chopped up my sample. Was that faster than just using start points? I don't know. But let's say I want to change these drums out. So I'm going to switch to this break here. I'm going to set the destination to none so the LFO isn't doing anything. And then I'm going to choose a different part of this sample. So I'm going to get this part right here. The midpoint is here. Now I'm going to set the destination back to sample start and adjust the depth. Now check this out. It still keeps the sample chops. So here's what's going on. The LFO is now modulating the start point. Because this is a negative saw wave, it starts the phase by immediately jumping to the left. How far it jumps is determined by the LFO depth, and that's why when I set it up, I just adjusted it until it triggered from the beginning of the part that I want. From there, the LFO runs until it reaches the end, which is just the same distance from the center as this first bit, just in the opposite direction. However, because the LFO is set to trigger, it'll always just play the sample from the beginning of the phase. And that's because the LFO's phase just defaults to 0. However, if you change the phase, it'll play a different part of the sample. And here's why this is kind of interesting. What the LFO does is let me think about cutting up this sample just in terms of nice round numbers. So the value of a completed phase is 128. Therefore, if I want to split this sample into 4 equal parts, no matter how long the section of the sample I want is, I can just divide 128 by 4 and get 32. And so my slices will begin on 0, 32, 64, and 96. If I want to split up my sample into 8 parts, then I just count by 16, so 0, 16, 32, 48, etc. Let me show you. So I've already set up a pattern with the LFO mostly set up and the slices in place. I just need a sample. So I'm going to use most of this one. So the midpoint is here. Now I just need to adjust the depth. And now I've got slices. And because these are 8 slices, you can see that we're going by 16. So 0, 16, 32, 48. If I wanted it into 16, it would be 0, 8, 16, 24. You see what I'm saying? I still can't play these slices into the sequence because these are just steps, but I can mess around with them in Trig Preview, and I can copy the track into another pattern along with any of the steps that I want to use. Or I can just dial them in like I did earlier. Personally, I think this is quick enough to just do that as you go. One of the disadvantages of this method is that you can adjust the phase by a bit, but you're still going by whole numbers now. So if you're chopping up a sample into 16 parts, you can dial in 7 or 9 instead of 8 for a slice to try to get it right, but that's only going to go so far. You can also, tweak or parameter lock slight changes in the LFO depth, but in terms of precision, it's just not going to be able to compete with being able to adjust the sample start point by, down to 2 decimal places. And it's going to be less precise the more slices you use. Another disadvantage is that this doesn't work the same way when the sample is played in reverse. So what you would need to do is parameter lock the LFO by setting the destination to none for that step, and then just reversing that section normally. And obviously you're using up one of your LFOs to do this, but still, I think it's pretty cool. To review, the setup for this is basically the same as the way you set up the time stretch. You still need to set the start point to the middle of the section that you want. The only difference is that because we're triggering the LFO to start every time, the speed and the multiplier don't matter. They do matter for the time stretch. So you just need to set your LFO's wave to saw. You need to set the destination to sample start, the mode to trigger, and then for the depth, you're just going to turn that to the left until it triggers the beginning of the section that you want. Or if you want to think about it, mathematically, the depth is going to be the difference between the midpoint and the start of the section that you want. And then for your slices, if you want to do preset slices, if you're going to split into 16 slices, then you just need to count by 8. So this is 0, 8, 16, 24. If you want to do 8 slices, you count by 16. And if you want to do 4 slices, you just go by 32. One last thing, in case you were wondering if this is a workaround for being able to play sample chops from an external sequencer, nope. Still works the same way. The Digitakt needs to know about any changes to what sample or what part of the sample is played before it can actually play at the new value. And I'll have more to say about this next time. Peace.